Actually, I've had my mom for almost 7 years, since she's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And it's been a stressful situation.
Erica Wong is the primary caregiver for her mother, Dorothy McMillan. The role is often taken by a family member who, in the case of Alzheimer's disease, bears the burden of caring for a loved one slowly losing his or her abilities. She describes that day, 7 years ago, when she realized her mother was ill.
She came to visit me in the hospital, and she said to me, "Erica, why are you home?" Because I was staying home recuperating for like 5-6 weeks. And she goes, "Why are you home so much?" I said, then I realized she's serious. She doesn't know that I was in the hospital and I just did that. And she totally forgot why I'm home. And that was a turning point for me. I'm like, wow.
When talking about her mother as she was before Alzheimer's, Erica describes a hard-working woman who emigrated from Trinidad and raised 7 children.
She's always poised and polished, and she's always a lady, always a lady. And so I'm glad that we're able to keep her that same way. I mean, she's always well manicured, hair always done.
Today, this poised lady is moving. After 7 years of caring for her mother, Erica and her family decided it was time for a change. Dorothy's moving in with another of her daughters, Deanna.
We decided that she wasn't still quite ready for a nursing home. She was supposed to be checking into the nursing home on Wednesday. And when we went last Sunday, my daughter started to cry when she saw the other people, the residents. Right now, you can see she still has some life in her. So we want to keep that life going for as long as possible.
Doing that requires full-time care.
For family members, this is a 24-hour disease.
Nancy DeZan is the executive director of the Alzheimer's Family Day Center.
While individuals are here at the day center during the day, their family members can go to work or carry out daily activities knowing that their loved one is safe.
Dorothy spends her weekdays here at the center, giving Erica and her family a break from the full-time care she needs.
As the disease progresses, the individual loses the ability to take care of their personal needs. So now the caregiver, in addition to the emotional trauma, is now helping with personal care needs, dressing, bathing, feeding.
It's a complete reversal. Because she used to baby me even when I was older, even when I was Michelle's age, I was baby. And so now I'm like babying her and coaxing her to do certain things, and she responds to being babied.
Still, the stress of having a family member with Alzheimer's disease means tough decisions for Erica, weighing what's best for her mother and her family.
Because as soon as she's no longer available to go to Alzheimer's Day, a daily thing, the next thing is a nursing home, or you have someone come into the home to take care of her 24/7.
Today, the Coalition Against Major Diseases is releasing clinical trial data related to Alzheimer's disease. It's the first time major pharmaceutical companies are sharing data like this with researchers.
These data provide the greatest detail ever on the progression of disease for over 4,000 Alzheimer's patients and will yield far greater understanding of this horrific disease.
While Alzheimer's disease was first identified over a century ago by psychiatrist Alois Alzheimer, the illness is still somewhat mysterious, and there is no cure. It's a neurodegenerative disease, causing nerve cell death and tissue loss throughout the brain.
Alzheimer's disease is characterized by a buildup of protein plaque in the brain. It's sort of a sticky substance that builds up in the brain. There's also a tangling of the neurofibers in the brain. The neurofibers are the fibers that have the brain communicate with the rest of the body.
There's disagreement among researchers about what is really causing Alzheimer's disease.
What scientists do know is that the cell death and tissue loss are somehow related to these plaques and tangles. This damage starts in the hippocampus.
The hippocampus is the part of the brain that takes an experience and turns it into a memory. The damage then spreads throughout the brain, and depending on where it spreads to is where we're going to get different types of symptoms and issues with this disease.
For instance, the damage can spread to the language centers.
We're going to have a person who is going to be having problems with word finding, problems understanding language, problems keeping up with conversation.
The hope here today is that this new combined effort of private companies, government agencies, and research institutions will produce better treatments for Alzheimer's.
century. In the past 20 years, there have been more than 300 drugs developed in part or in whole for Alzheimer's, yet only 5 drugs have been approved. And these drugs have had some impact on symptomatic progression in patients who have already started to show signs of disease, but they haven't fundamentally altered the course.
Studies showed Aricept slows the progression of Alzheimer's symptoms.
Alzheimer's medications, like Aricept, are effective in delaying symptoms in the early stages of the disease. But all of the approved Alzheimer's medications on the market become less effective over time. This lack of effective treatments has focused research efforts, and this new focus is punctuated by statistics showing what we can expect from the disease in the decades to come.
Companies, the patients that we were talking to, the FDA, they all said this is the one where we've got to make more progress. They described it to us as a tsunami coming at them, at the country.
That tsunami refers to the number of people with the disease. About 5.1 million Americans have Alzheimer's today, but by 2050, that number will more than double, rising to 13.5 million people. This carries not only a personal toll, but a financial one as well. Right now, families and healthcare providers spend more than $170 billion annually caring for those with Alzheimer's in the U.S. That number will increase 5-fold by 2050, when the costs are expected to surpass $1 trillion, not adjusting for inflation. Experts say the Coalition's announcement today is a step forward for Alzheimer's research.
The new medicines now in the research pipeline are giving patients and healthcare providers new hope that more effective treatments may soon be available.
But that research takes time. And while work on those medications continues, more families across the country will face what Erica and her family have gone through over the past 7 years. Back at Erica's house, the family is preparing for Dorothy's move. Dorothy's grandson, Ren, has arrived to help. He explains the move to his grandmother.
What's going to be happening is you're just going to be spending more time with Deanna compared to how much time you spent with Auntie Erica.
She'll most likely forget in a couple minutes. But the time is valuable in another way. For this moment, they're grandmother and grandson, sharing a joke and having a conversation.
This is going to be the best thing for everybody. It's not that I don't love her, but you could be an Alzheimer's patient for years. It's not something I'm doing temporarily, it's getting more involved every day. But I see now that I need to go on with my life. My girls are 20 and 21 this year and 26 this year.
Dorothy will still be spending some weekends with Erica and her family after she moves.
I feel selfish. I feel guilty, but it's time for me to do something for Erica.
This is a common feeling among family caretakers. Erica feels like her life has stopped while caring for her mother, but she feels guilty for wanting that life back. More and more family members will face these issues in the coming years.